Well, first of all, Wendy, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day. And, I greatly appreciate that. I know you're very busy.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So I was going to ask you, where are you located? Where do you train at now?
I am in Oceanside, so Southern California, and I train at. I train at so many different gyms, and I actually get FOMO when I look online and I see people who have like a specific gym that they train at, and they have like all these people that are just one big like camaraderie group of people,
Yeah.
and I would love to have that, but right now we just kind of hop around, and you know we have
Yeah.
different things that we like different things at. So
Yeah, yeah. It is something interesting about like going to different gyms. It's like there is a novelty to it, something new every
yeah,
time, new people. You meet a lot of like cool people, as opposed to the
definitely.
same people every day. It's definitely different. How is California, especially where you are, as far as like restrictions and everything like that? I know, they were hit fairly hard.
Yeah, where are you at? I'm
I'm
sorry.
in Nashville, Tennessee.
Got it. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, you guys just had a big flood, right?
Yeah. And that thankfully didn't touch us, but yeah,
Oh
a lot of people lost their lives actually. It's
man.
crazy. Like you don't really hear about it, about like floods causing a lot of death, except like the real big ones, like
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it was just a few miles away from here too. Hmm.
One of my best friends is actually living in Tennessee. I went to college with her, and I checked on her. Of course, I reached out to her. I went looking at her social media, and I hope
Yeah,
Tiffany's okay. And when you're not from a certain state and you hear something happens there, it's kind of like people from other countries, and they hear that you're from California, and they'll like name like somebody that they know from California, and California
right.
is so huge. Like, do you know so and so? I'm like, well,
There's like literally millions of people in California. I'm
they live like 10 hours away from me, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
yeah. It gets like that. How is your friend? Was she okay?
She's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
She's good. So everyone's safe that I
yeah,
know, but I know it's devastating.
yeah.
We're
It's
here in Oceanside. We're a little bit spoiled in all respects. We have, the restrictions have been pretty mild around here. The cases are pretty low, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that, honestly, it's really sunny. Everyone's always outside on the beach. I live really like on the beach pretty much.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
so in this yeah, so like in this pocket, that's probably why it's such a low rate of infection, and just it's kind of its own little world over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really lucky in that sense.
Well, there is definitely something that people have been saying since this whole COVID started, was that the UV rays do tend to help. I mean, how much I don't know. That's a whole different subject matter. But
Right.
they have kind of found that like sunny places, UV rays like can like have a
Right.
disinfector type of effect. So it doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me that that you guys are having. At least that's great if you're training, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the first things that gets shut down is the gyms. So you
Yeah.
didn't really
Yeah.
have to go through that.
Yeah. We have we use the light emitting diode spectrum to help us with antibacterial
Mhm.
uses. We use blue light to sanitize things and everything, and the UVA and UVB light is really small on the wavelength scale, so you can't see it, but it has been shown to kill viruses and bacteria. So I used to worry about the germs on like children's playgrounds until I
Yeah.
did some research and found out that when it's sitting in the sun, it actually pretty much sanitizes itself. So
Yeah. That's the one like benefit of being, well, there's a lot of benefits of being somewhere sunny, but like
yeah.
I love the beach and like the ocean. My wife is from
Right.
Tampa, Florida, so
Oh
so
yeah.
we go there,
Yeah.
and it's like I always enjoy it. Here in Nashville, we're
Yeah.
landlocked, but what can you
Yeah.
do?
It's not foolproof. It's not like, oh, the sun kills it, so pretty much doesn't exist here. It's
Right.
still something that we are alert about. And there have been closures and there have been a lot of measures.
Right.
People have had to wear masks. I mean, it's definitely not without
Sure.
its restrictions, but I do feel like when I see other parts of the country and other parts of the world, I definitely feel like it's not as dramatic here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I think was that's part of the problem, right? Is that people think that there's one thing that solves something 100%, and it's not.
Right.
It never works that way. It's always like, just a little advantage, a little better. That's just kind of how it goes. So, but I was going to ask you, so you had a very long, competitive career. How did you get into, training and fitness and all that, as a whole?
Yeah, because I haven't really had a chance to ever talk with you. I
Yeah.
just, I'm like, let's go, let's do it. Yeah, so my story. It's interesting because I feel like I've told my story so many times, but I have to
Mhm.
remember that just because I have heard and told my story a million times doesn't mean that like everybody knows it. Because I mean,
Right.
the reality is I don't have like a ton of people following me, so it feels like, oh my god, I keep telling my story, but obviously you've never heard my story and a lot of people probably
Right.
haven't. So it's the way that I started this, bodybuilding is, a long time when I was younger, I was a gymnast, and then I ran track in high school, and
Mhm.
then I ran track in college, and then I went beyond college and I started running professionally. And I was like, had Olympic dreams, and
Mhm.
I ran the 800, was the half mile, was that was like my race. And I trained my butt off. And actually my coach from college started training me at the end of like 2008 was actually my last season. And I was training to go to the Olympic trials in
Wow.
2008.
Wow.
And I was, it was like my whole life was, I would go to the track and pretty much I had to train by myself because, my team was all over the place, just scattered everywhere. And so, it was just me and the track, and I had my whole heart into it. And unfortunately, I got hurt, which has happened pretty much every season. That would always be the thing that would get me. Always when you're doing a high impact sport, you're always battling with, your intensity. When your intensity meets that demand and your volume, they collide, and you try to push that as far as you can. And that at some point there is always that tipping point, and injury is a limitation of pretty much all performance athletes. If you can
Right.
skate that line and get right to where you're about to get injured, but not, you're going to get to that next level. And so of course you're pushing it and you're pushing it. And I had a stress fracture in my foot, and
Mm.
I was so bummed out. And I think the Olympic trials was like 2 months later, and I was just really, really bummed out. But my now husband, Matt, he and I had just started dating like a month before, and he actually came to a couple of my track races and everything. And he was bodybuilding, and I didn't really know much about that world, and I was running and everything. And then after I got hurt, I remember calling him, and I told him, and I was so bummed out. And he was like, he was a personal trainer at a personal training gym, and he was like, just come over, let me put you through a workout and get your mind off of everything. And so I go to the gym, and everybody in this gym, it's like this bodybuilder gym, right? Like everybody there competed. And by the way, in 2008, not many people competed. So the fact that everybody at this gym, like a lot of people at this gym competed, it was a very rare type of a gym at that time,
Mm.
right, in 2008. So it was very, I had that awesome vibe that I'm trying to look for around here now that I moved here. But everybody's like, you got to compete, you got to do, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I don't really know if that's what I want to do. And I thought, what the heck, I'll train for a contest. I'll do figure, and then it'll get my mind off of being depressed. It'll
Mhm.
keep me from being bummed out that my foot is messed up and I'm not going to be able to finish my season in track. And then once my foot gets better, then I'll get right back to the track, and I'll just hit it again next season. And so I trained, and I think I was trained for like maybe it was like the show that I ended up doing was like 6 weeks after I started training. And, that doesn't mean that it took me 6 weeks to prepare. I mean, I was already in shape. I was already
Mhm.
really lean. I mean, I am a naturally really muscular person. And so I competed and actually won the overall.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
And it was so exciting. And I was like, you know what? All of a sudden, I'm like, maybe this is what my body is not going to resist me on, because I always had to really fight I'm a total mesomorph, and I build muscle so easily. I always had to fight that when I was running track because I didn't want to
Mhm.
put on a bunch of muscle. And so all of a sudden, it was like I was just letting my body go for it. And I remember the beginning when I started competing, the judges were like, back. This is when figure wasn't as muscular as it is now. They were
Mhm.
like, back off, too much muscle. I was told that I had too much muscle at the beginning. And
Wow.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just training. And no joke, I actually, after I competed for like probably like a year and a half, I spent at least like a year and a half after that barely training at all. I would just do mostly cardio and do a little bit of lightweight because the judges
Mhm.
kept telling me, back off on the muscle, like too much muscle, too much muscle. And it was really crazy when I think about that, because now fast forward to now, and I'm like back then I had too much muscle, and now like girls are coming out of the woodwork with just like twice as much muscle as me, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, so
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's
yeah.
that's uh that is interesting, right? Like as far as like the running and the injuries that you mentioned, it's a
Yeah.
real tricky situation, because you obviously had that like competitive champion mindset, and then what happens is you run into like your physical human body that can't handle that level
Yeah.
of a mindset. So you end up breaking. Happens a lot with people that are champions, right? It's like at some point they're going to get hurt because they push
Yeah.
themselves so much. And like you
Totally.
said, if you can get there but not quite get hurt too bad, you can
Yeah.
move on. But it doesn't always happen that way. So what do you think about the fact that the figure division now is becoming just so much more muscular than it ever has?
Well, I mean, I have a certain, I want to just see what my body can do,
Mhm.
but I don't want to go beyond that, to not say it specifically, I'll just say it like that.
Mhm.
And just keep it like politically correct.
Sure, sure.
But
You don't want to push the envelope,
I
with
don't want to
regards.
go. I
Yeah,
don't want to. If my body can't do it or won't do it, then I don't. I don't want to go any further than that.
sure.
And I've been impressed with what my body's been able to do so far. And
Mhm.
I was forced to be patient because they were rewarding. I mean, I always tell my husband I had the luxury of kind of growing with the division. And
Mhm.
that, when I first started, the division was kind of recalibrating itself and trying to keep the girls from getting too muscular. They always have like these recalibrating years where they're like,
Right.
they have corrections where things are kind of like start pushing the envelope, and then they try to have a little bit of a correction. And so
Mhm.
when I was getting in, they were having that correction. They didn't want girls to be too muscular. And so over time, since 2008, think about that. That was what, 12 years ago.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know and since then, it's kind of gradually kind of picked up the pace, and my body has kind of gone with it. In the last 12 years, I've barely put on any muscle, but it's also been just enough as I've kind of trekked through the evolution of it.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still, I still, I want to show, and I'm on my way to the Olympia. So I'm still kicking, and I'll see what I can do. I
Yeah.
think I will definitely be able to bring a complete aesthetic physique to the stage with, I think, just the right amount of muscle. But if they want to reward more muscle, then I'll be
Mhm.
okay with that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you have to also be with yourself on that. And for
Right.
me, I want to love the physique that I create because I'm an artist. And if I am chasing after something that I won't really love to live in, then that's kind of,
Yeah.
I'm not sticking to my truth, you know?
Right. Absolutely. No, I completely understand because, bodybuilding is such a unique
Yeah.
sport. It's not, you're not putting a ball in a hoop or running as fast as you can. Your athletic efforts are directly related to your like outside off stage life. So you
Right.
just still have to live in that body, whether you
Yeah.
win the show or not. Right. And so I
Right.
think sometimes a lot of people make that mistake. They'll push themselves, they'll push the envelope, they'll win a show here, they'll win a show there, but then the consequences of that
Yeah.
come into play.
Yeah.
That's a big conversation now with like
Yeah.
all the divisions really getting bigger. I mean, figure is one, but the
Yeah.
bikini's even gotten bigger. Like the
Right.
bikini girls now look like figure girls, back in the day.
I know. I also, another thing that I was thinking about too is, I think that, genetics play a huge role, and not just genetics in the sense of, some people have genetically perfect structures and some people don't. But honestly, when you see children at a young age, there are some kids that are just naturally inclined to be leaner and, more athletic, and that doesn't mean that each child can't find success in their own right when you're thinking about, like, breaking up a personal best of how many push-ups you can do against yourself or how fast you can run against yourself. But there are definitely some kids who they just tend to be leaner and they just tend to be more muscular. And that was me, like that was the thing that I always had, right? I was always naturally just really lean, and
Mhm.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I was able to get away with a lot more than. And you fool yourself into thinking that you know how to diet better, or you know how to train better, but the reality is that it is easier for some people to be lean than others. And that is one thing that I think, if someone is fighting their genetics so much trying to get lean, like shave down a bunch of body fat time after time after time, that really takes a toll on the body. And it's that's why there are so many different things that people can be a part of. You don't have
Right.
to be in, you don't have to do bodybuilding, but if somebody is able to stay leaner without, killing themselves over it, that person is going to have more longevity and is going to be able to do it without suffering and doing so much, crazy fighting against their body. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been thinking about this more, because this kind of all these hot topics in the bodybuilding world
Sure.
right now, and people are going to such extremes to try to make it to the stage or to get to that next level. And as taboo as it might sound, the reality is that it's not the sport for everyone. And I
Right.
think that when you look at, even just as children at a young age, when you see people who are just inclined to be leaner, without having to work so hard, those are the people that are going to be able to not stress their body so much just to get there. You know what I mean?
No, I completely understand what you mean, and it's not. And yes, this is a hot topic now because you had, I believe, somebody passed away recently, and there's a lot of conversation. But not only in bodybuilding,
Yeah.
also anywhere where you have a lot of weight cuts, it comes into
Yeah.
play. That's
Yep.
that's a that's a real touchy subject.
Totally.
I was involved in wrestling when I was younger, and a lot of grappling sports. And now you see
I
competitors
did
who are.
wrestling stats in high school, so
You did what? I'm
I
sorry.
did wrestling stats in high school.
Oh yeah. Well, I know girls that like were in your position. Yeah, very well. I remember that. Yeah. So yeah, so like there was, you have to cut a lot of weight. It's just part of the sport. And it's like it becomes real problem for a lot of people. People get very dehydrated. Even in my time years ago, people passed away, just
Mhm.
from the dehydration. And
Yeah.
so it's a real problem. But
Yeah.
to your point, let's say you're a competitor in whatever sport, whether let's say wrestling, and then
Mhm.
you're barely making the weight, go
Right.
up, go up. Don't
Yeah,
don't keep cutting down.
so
If you can't make figure, then go to another division that, you
totally.
know, there's plenty
Yep.
of them, right? Like
Yep.
where they just added the wellness division, right? Like for, you know, obviously someone who's genetically inclined to be in wellness is going to have a hard time being in figure, right? So yeah, I mean, what do you think about the addition of all these different divisions? How did you feel like when wellness was added? Like, did that strike you as like surprising, or were you kind of, you feel that that's kind of the trend that IFBB is going towards?
Um, I see pros and cons. Like, for example, I feel like a huge pro is that people, no matter what someone's body type is, there's pretty much a division to fit into a category with their body type. You know, I mean,
Mhm.
not everybody has like an X frame shape. So, you know, with each division comes a different body type that is suited for it. You know, like
Mhm.
when it comes to figure is like there's a structure, an X-frame structure, and it has to flow a certain way. Well, you know, there were a lot of awesome girls who had longer torsos, more narrow shoulders, and maybe their lower bodies were really impressive, and they added bikini, and these girls were able to thrive. So it was awesome because it opened it up, right? And then,
Mhm.
you know, when figure started pushing the envelope too much, they were like, well, we need to add a division where they could kind of push the envelope a little bit, but we don't want people to have to jump into bodybuilding straight from figure. So they added that division, and it kind of gave a little bit of a kind of a segue into like kind of preventing people from going too far if they don't want to and they're just too much for figure. And
Sure.
you know, wellness, when wellness was added, it was like girls were, there were girls even in other countries who were had amazing bodies, and you see these girls on Instagram and stuff, but it didn't seem like there was anywhere for them to go. They had these impressive lower bodies. Some people grew up playing soccer and they just don't really have developed upper bodies, and they're like, God, we need something to put these girls into. So then it's like there's all these, and so that's the positive, right?
Mhm.
The negatives are, number one, I would say it's so hard to follow people. It's like I'm so overloaded and I want to keep up with everything, and it's so hard to. And it's just like there's just so many people to keep track of, and everyone's kind of fighting for that attention.
Right.
And I think that that kind of trickles into a like a host of other issues that happen. Like when everyone's fighting for attention, what starts to happen is people start to, you know, create false realities on Instagram. They start, you know, morphing they're trying to battle out. And so you see like Photoshop and, you
Right.
know, people, you know, basically trying to present something that they're not, and people start to, you see all this like wars all over YouTube and Instagram. Everyone's fighting against each other and, you know, picking sides, and there's just a, you know, a little bit, you know, more polarization that starts to happen when you have so many people fighting for a little amount of space. And it just you know, so I guess not to make it negative, but that's kind of what I've seen. I mean, a lot of this drama and stuff like that, I don't remember. I mean, maybe it was going on, but it was just such a bottleneck, so much more of a bottleneck when I first started that I don't think it was at, you know, on the forefront as much. But now that that
Yeah.
bottleneck has opened up and everybody has a platform, I just see so many more people. You know, and I feel bad. You know, I feel like people have their, you know, their insecurities and things, and they want to so bad everyone to think that you look a certain way so they morph their body or whatever, or people feel like they have to battle some issue in order to be relevant. And you know, it's kind of sad in that sense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
No,
pros and cons, right?
right, absolutely. One thing I was going to mention or ask you really. So, social media is a huge aspect of athletics today, whether it's in bodybuilding or anything else, right?
Right.
How big was social media in 2008? I was around obviously, but I can't remember. Like as a competitor, like how big was social media?
It was not big. I mean, there was,
Uh,
first of all, I kicked myself because I remember that when people were like, oh, you need to go on and do YouTube and stuff like that. And
mhm.
I'm like, it's too late for that. Like all the YouTube stars are already like out and doing a thing. And I wish I would have been more on top of YouTube and sharing things on YouTube
Right.
back when there was, when it wasn't so overloaded.
Right.
But I don't think it's ever too late to get on top of that. I need to get on top of that. But Facebook was around, and it was just kind of more of like a friends thing. I mean, people
Mhm.
really just, I mean, back then it was like the MySpace era was just ending, and the Facebook era was kind of starting to take off.
Mhm.
So it wasn't really something that people like, the idea of a selfie that didn't even come onto the scene until like 2013. People
Yeah.
started posting photos of themselves looking in the mirror, and it was just this weird thing. Like, people are like, what is going on? Even me, I was like, why are people doing that? That's so weird. It's just so like posting a photo of yourself. And then like towards like 2014, 2015, if you didn't post a photo of yourself looking in the mirror, people didn't think you were a real person. So like you had to, just to be like, here, I'm real, like I'm doing this. And then selfie became a thing. And it was just, it was just, this started taking off, and it was funny.
Yeah, yeah. It's so my point was that I believe that a lot of that also, and it's negative and positive, like as you mentioned, is that social media has really kind of like stirred the pot with regard to that. You see people, like you said, having wars on social media and things
Oh
like
yeah.
that. And on one hand, it is like makes bodybuilding a little bit more excited, or exciting, I should say, excuse me. But on the other hand, it does
Bodybuilders
kind
excited.
on the other hand, is it makes it like divisive, right? Like, so there's not like a unified, like, component to the sport anymore. And
Right.
yeah, and I definitely like see, where you're coming from there. Like you said, I want it. It can be very sad, and I also believe that, and you correct me, if I'm wrong or what you think, but most of the harm, I believe, tends to go towards the people that are just coming into the sport
Yeah.
or just getting into fitness, because they're looking at these athletes and they're not realizing, oh, this athlete doesn't look like this all year round. This athlete doesn't look like this, even maybe in this picture, depending if it was photoshopped or not.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that? Especially for young girls too. That can be, guys as well, but girls especially.
That's one of the things that I don't even know how to be an advocate for this, because it's really disappointing. I have 7 nieces and nephews. Um, Only 3 are nephews. And so I do think about my nieces a lot when I think about this. And, when you're talking about 20, 30, 40-year-old women completely morphing their faces and bodies, it's kind of like, okay, no big deal. It's kind of funny, haha. But it's like that wasn't happening when we were kids,
Mhm.
and we were not constantly confronted with these images of what we thought we needed to look like. And so I don't even know what kind of a toll that could take on a child's mental development, and how much that could affect their perception of themselves. Kids shouldn't have to be thinking about that. I
Sure.
mean, I think about like my nieces who are they're preteens and teens. And yeah, I mean, those are the age groups that I really think about. I want
Yeah.
women, I want girls to find themselves and be confident enough to find their own style and their own vibe, and what makes them unique and what makes them special. And then you see this specific type of beauty standard or face that's just plastered everywhere. And then all of a sudden it's like, and it's like, for me, that was one of the things I always loved about trying to promote health and fitness and being like muscular. It's like you could be feminine and muscular. And when I first got into it, I felt really good about that. I felt like, what I'm showing women and young girls that you don't have to, you could be strong. I mean, that movement has taken off since I started competing. I mean, it was
Sure.
not as accepted that, oh yeah, women with muscles, it was like if you had a little muscle, it was like, oh, she looks like a man. And now it's so many women have embraced and have embraced the, you know, idea. So I've seen that evolve, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's my next passion project message, you know,
Mhm.
because that one has already been pretty much created and it's established and
Right.
it's being accepted. And now I don't even know how to make it a passion project message, but it does bother me when I see people constantly morphing themselves and their faces. It's like, what are we saying to our young girls? I
Mhm.
mean, I just wish so bad everybody would take that load off of their shoulders, that they have to change it every time right before they post it. And I could just say, everyone just be yourself. Like, let's just all be ourselves. Like, just stop it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I think a big part of that. Well, to go backwards and say, absolutely, I think you're right. I remember the times when just women lifting was thought of as being very masculine, like, oh, you
Yeah.
don't, and it's like, I don't know if men actually felt that way because,
Yeah.
men, when a man looks at a woman
Ah!
that has a good physique, she has a good physique. That's it. I
Yeah.
mean, but I believe in amongst women, it was that like, oh, you don't want to
Yeah.
lift because then you'll look like a man, which is completely not true. But
Yeah.
but now that, like you said, that's kind of already been debunked.
Right.
But as far as like morphing like faces and when you're taking pictures, I think people are just afraid of criticism.
Totally.
I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're
It is true.
afraid that people are going to criticize them if something is, doesn't look right, doesn't look
Yeah.
perfect. Not even not right, I mean, that's not even
Yeah.
a good way
I
to say
mean,
it.
we are all a part of that, you know. I mean, who are we fooling to think that we don't all, you know, but I don't even know. Yeah, that's why I don't even know how to fix it, because, you know, without realizing it, just the fact that it's existing makes us all feel more self-conscious about ourselves, and then
Mhm.
we're perpetuating the problem and then
Right.
complaining about it at the same time.
Right.
So it is a very intricate, layered issue discussion that I don't even know how to totally have, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a domino effect. I think the start is definitely talking about it, like in this kind of scenario, just
Yeah.
kind of putting
Yeah.
it out
Yep.
there. The more people discuss it, the more, it's going to become like a bigger subject. Um, it is very layered. Like you said, it is
Yeah.
very layered because it involves emotions, it involves people's
Yeah.
perceptions of themselves. So yeah, it's hard to tackle that.
I think there was a law put into effect. I think it was, I want to say it was in Europe, I think, where social media influencers, basically it's illegal for them to use Photoshop if they're advertising for something. So,
Oh,
you know, you
interesting.
have these beauty influencers that are advertising like face creams and makeup and saying all the things that these products can do, and meanwhile they're photoshopping their pores out of the equation. And
Right.
you know what I mean? So it was false advertising, and that's always been illegal to false advertise a product, and you know, make false claims about what it can do. And
Right.
so, because there are so many people with a platform, and that is primarily how these companies sell and market, it's
Sure.
gone so, it's so different than it used to be, where it was funneled through, you know, magazines and TV commercial ads. Now it really is the platforms of, you know, individual people who have their own, you know, their own platform. They own their everything that they do and say,
Mhm.
and those people lying about what a product can do,
Right.
the repercussions are pretty big when somebody buys something they're expecting to do and then it doesn't do what they think it's going to do.
Right, right, absolutely. I mean, at the least, you're losing your money, right? At the
Right.
least, and so at the
Right.
most, it could harm. Something could harm you. So
Right.
yeah, but it's a real powerful thing because even I, knowing everything, knowing that some of these athletes, the things that they promote, they're getting paid for it, and obviously, this is just the
Yeah.
business. Knowing
Yeah.
all that, I still like sometimes my mind wonders. I'll look at somebody and be like, huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if that works because he's using it. And it's like,
Totally. Totally.
but I already
Yeah.
I know that's not the case, but it has
Yeah.
such a powerful impact on your mind.
It does.
Um,
Same thing when you see something that is, something that's morphed, and
mhm.
you know it's morph, but you're still like, wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
So then does it become art? Are you looking at art? Or you
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. I didn't
Yeah.
think about it that way. I think
Yeah.
at a certain point you're looking at a painting, an art, some type of art. Like it's not real, you know?
So true. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I know. I guess maybe that's how we just sort through it. I mean,
Yeah.
but the thing that's frustrating is when I work, this is frustrating when I work really hard on my physique and I want to post like an update or whatever. I'm not even joking. There have been times that I'm like, I can't post this. People are going to accuse me of photoshopping it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everyone's doing that. So I'm like, so then I'll post it as a video because I'm like, okay, well, I can't, and I just want to post a photo, but I'm
Right.
like, because everybody is doing it. And I don't think it looks impressive enough to, it's so weird how
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? You work extremely hard to get
yeah,
lean, grainy for a
yeah,
show. You want to post a progress pic, but your picture doesn't have the same effect because everyone is posting morphed pictures. So now you guys all look the same, even though
yeah,
yours is real and theirs isn't. So it's like it doesn't
yeah,
really stand out, and that's
right.
a shame. That's a shame because it pulls away from all your hard work. So
Yeah, I know. It is though people can do what they want to do, but there was one time that there was a photo, like a comparison photo, me and two other girls, and one of the girls actually photoshopped herself in the
wow.
picture and then posted it. And then of course I had beaten her at that show. And then
Mm.
everybody was like, oh, you got robbed. And that's where it's definitely crossing the line. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing more of that now, which if there's nothing else that we can do, I guess it's talk about it and say, like, guys, like, let's stop doing this. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's like judging shows based upon pictures is a shaky ground. Like the people that were there saw everything, and that's
Yep.
that's how you won. But again, that's how it is. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're of the mentality, or if you're of the kind of character that you're willing to do something like that, I mean, that's a shame. That's a real shame.
I know. And it's not really about the 20, 30, 40 beyond age group that, I mean, it's just kind of petty stuff when you talk about all of that. And it's just like, who cares, right? I mean, I have to
Right.
put in perspective and say, who cares? Everyone is kind of like doing their thing. I'm not gonna kind of act like a child on a playground about it. But what I do worry about is, like you said before, it's
Right.
like it's the kids growing up into this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know how that's gonna go
Yeah,
down.
they don't know any better. Yeah, they don't know any better. They're affected. If we're affected and we know, they really are affected,
Yeah.
but
We're affected and we should be mature enough to not be affected.
right,
So
exactly.
imagine the undeveloped mind
Right.
being kind of brought into this. So yeah,
Absolutely. Well, to pivot on all of this, so you want to show you're going to the Olympia. Are you going to go to the Arnold as well, or just the Olympia?
well, I did apply for the Arnold. However,
Mhm.
they're not having figure at the Arnold.
That's right. And as I said that, I started to remember. What is up with that? Is there a reason for why they're?
It is a bummer, but I can actually understand their reasoning, or I don't know the reasoning, but this is all assumption, by the way. My take on it is that, hey, look, like they lost a lot of money in 2020.
Yeah.
They took a huge hit. They decided to follow through and take and eat it. And they have to recoup some of that. I mean, everybody was hurting from 2020. And so in doing that, they're trying to rebuild this, and they probably decided, okay, let's just have 4 divisions. Let's strategize here. Okay, we're definitely gonna have bodybuilding. Okay,
Mhm.
bodybuilding is the absolute, non-negotiable division.
Right. Right.
Absolutely, And then they decided to have classic physique,
Mhm.
and they were like, okay, so from there, let's think, what female divisions do we want? And they're like, well, we have to have fitness, because fitness is like the epitome of the industry, right? I mean, you imagine, like, that's the athletic division. We have to have fitness.
Right.
And then, like, okay, we need one more division. And they're like, okay, between bikini, wellness, figure, well, they probably thought figure and wellness. I mean, we already have fitness, and it's kind of like you have the physique round and the routine. So,
Right.
let's do bikini because that's probably the most, between bikini, fitness, classic physique, and bodybuilding. They probably felt like, okay, this is going to, encapsulate the majority of what bodybuilding is, right?
Yeah, I see your point, because you're right. Fitness, fitness does have the physique round, which the girls are very similar, like build, if not, very close to figure competitors. And then you pick bikini because they're on the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
And then you have the bodybuilding. So yeah, that's a shame. I would have
It's
loved to
a
see
shame.
figure there.
Yeah, I know. I feel like figure is such an awesome division because it is everything in like the perfect package. It's the just the right amount of shape, conditioning, muscularity. It's like
Mhm.
to me, it's like the ultimate division where it's like actually like bodybuilding is like as an artist, it's about really striving for perfection, right?
Right, right.
The perfect balance of symmetry and muscle and everything. You're trying to achieve that. And with men, it's I think it's kind of turned into classic physique is that
Sure.
ultimate division.
Yes.
And for women, it's like any other division. It's like you have a lot of specific strengths in
Mhm.
that division, right?
Right.
Figure really is. I mean, it's that ultimate shape.
Yeah, that
And I'm
balance.
biased,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, they're very balanced. I mean, that's the epitome of balance is figure. Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely.
I love
So
all the divisions though. So
yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
would do them all if I could, but
Have
you have to.
you ever considered going to a different division?
When I started, actually, the only thing that was available was fitness, figure, and bodybuilding, and I was 100%. I'm not going to do bodybuilding, and actually, because I used to be a gymnast, once my foot healed, I actually did do fitness,
Oh wow. Okay.
and I did the Sacramento championships, and I won.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I was done, and my body was like, I was like, you know what? I started doing this sport because my body was beat up,
Right.
and then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do fitness. This like makes no sense.
You're
So
gonna fracture your ankle again.
what am I doing? This is like silly. And not to mention that when I did fitness, I think I had like 3 backflips, and when I got to the show, it was like this makeshift stage with
Oh no.
nails sticking up, and it was just like, okay, this is not
Oh,
safe.
that's like a scene from like Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah.
You got nails sticking up from the stage. That's terrible. That's terrible. Well, they definitely are doing the shows much better these last years, especially with the live stream and everything. It was so nice. It was well done last year.
Yeah.
So the Olympia is definitely like becoming a lot more of a like a mainstream looking competition athletic event. So
Yep.
excited to see you there. You also have some businesses going on, right? Like, can you talk about like your offstage endeavors?
Of course. My husband and I, we have our business is called Cyber Body Shop, and we actually launched that in 2012.
Mhm.
And we had this vision of doing a lot of like online programs, and it was kind of not many people were doing that back then,
Mhm.
but we wanted to name it something that we could really evolve with. um it's funny because over the years I've heard a lot of people make fun of it, thinking it was a car shop and everything, but we own it. We've
Yeah.
already we've already established ourselves as Cyber Body Shop, so we're just owning it, and we'll just take all the hate, whatever.
Right. Right.
But so over the years, we have done a lot of coaching, and we've coached all the divisions. And
Mhm.
then around 2015, I launched my first big, like it was this big vision that I was spending so much of my time doing one-on-one posing sessions, and I would work with all of our contest clients. I would work with all of, people would come to me and hire me just for posing. I was spending so much time doing that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create like a virtual posing product And that way I could sell that, and it'll be really top level instruction versus somebody not being able to book with me and then going to a coach where they learn everything wrong or whatever, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I created it for figure and bikini to start with, and when I launched that, it just took off, and actually had a membership site component with that. And then I was also running a membership site on the side, with just like my workouts, my, you know, training, stuff like that. And I was doing all these membership sites, and then I had, my product was taking off, and I sold so many of those. Been wanting to revamp it and do like it's called Polished Presentation, by the way. So
Okay. Great.
polishedpresentation.com, and it has figure and bikini.
Great.
And I want to launch a 2.0, and I'm going to do all the divisions at this one on my next one. Yeah. So
is it all
just like
going to be is it all going to be on the same website, or are you starting a new site?
Good question. Yeah. So I'm going to keep that same website so that people are always going to be funneled straight to whatever they choose. But I'll probably have the original available, you know, the Polished Presentation original, and then I'll relaunch with Polished Presentation 2.0 with all the updated, you know, rules, and, you know, some of the nuances that have changed over the years since 2015, which, you know, I mean, things have changed, right? I still think anybody could get a lot out of the original, because I have like walking and turning and things that people, you know, really need help with, not just here's a posing routine and let me teach you. I mean, I break down the little details that really help someone master their overall presentation. So I'm waiting a little bit longer to record my 2.0, because I want to be in like really, really good shape for it.
Yeah, of course. No, I understand.
And so, yeah, I have that. And then we have, I have a few other, you know, online products. I have a insider's cardio playbook that basically goes over, you know, everything that anybody needs to know about cardiovascular training. And then also my membership site that I had running for a while, a few years ago, I actually put all of it together in a bundle, and I created a product called the Vault, and it has all of my training and nutrition and everything that I did on my membership site.
Beautiful.
All bundled up into my product called the Vault. And so we have those things going, and
that's beautiful, especially the posing, right? Because that's and the nuances involved in that. And I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, but there's a lot of shows are lost and won based upon people being able to display their physique. And the last thing that you want as a competitor is to work hard to get yourself in shape and then not be able to show it in the right way and lose, you know, or not place as well as you should. So that's, you know, that's a big deal. It's becoming more and more popular that people are just doing posing, because honestly, so many people don't know how to pose, you know, and that's one of those things. So
it's so true. It's so true. And I mean, for me, posing is an art, and I don't really think of it in terms of, you know, hitting, you know, okay, let me just get your body to fit this certain pose, and your hand goes here and your elbow goes there and your foot goes here, because everybody has such a different body that if you try to give someone instructions where, you know, start from, okay, this is the pose that we're going to master, now let's get your body to do that. What you run into is you have girls doing things, or guys, because I coach guys too, but they end up doing something and it looks awkward or it looks off, and you're like, well, why is that, you know? So the way that I teach is it's like you have to start with what is your purpose and what are you trying to create. So if you're trying to create and figure, you know, every angle should hit the most optimal X frame shape that you could possibly hit. So that's your goal. That's what you're trying to do. Now, the byproduct of that is where your shoulders are to hit that, where your hips are to hit that. And I mean, like I said, everyone is different. Everybody has different limb length and different body type. So what might work for one person might not necessarily work for another person, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's very individualized and
Exactly.
customized. Yeah, no, that
Yep.
makes sense. Well, to kind of wind down, I was going to ask you, outside of yourself, who should we keep an eye on in the figure division? Is there anybody that you're kind of looking to do well? And
Oh
again,
yeah.
excluding yourself. I don't want you to throw yourself in there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I follow so many girls. I was just looking at the list for the Olympia, and it's a very intimidating list. I'll just say that. It is. Well, first of all, one of my favorites, obviously, a lot of people's favorite is Sid Gillen.
Of course. Yeah.
She's amazing. Latoria Watts, I've actually been competing with her since well, I remember she won, so I won the USA in 2011, and then she won the USA in 2013, and I've been a fan of her physique ever since. But we've been on stage together and kind of grew together. Obviously she grew a lot more than I did. she, you know
Yeah.
but my point here is that I've been able to be there with her on her journey, and I really hope she competes. I'm not sure if she will.
Yeah.
I know she took a couple years off and then she came back, and so I would love to see her come back with a vengeance. I haven't really seen a lot from her on social media, so I'm not really sure.
I know she's in the past. So I met her a few years ago, and I know right after that she ended up having some health issues. I don't want to speak to, because can't remember. I know she posted about it, but it was some kind of health issues that she was having, and then she came back, and now I don't know, like you said, I haven't heard from her, or I haven't seen her much, so I don't know if they're back, or if or if she just decided to slow down.
Cystic fibrosis, if I recall.
Yes, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Cysts had to be removed, and that is something that could recur. And so who knows? I mean, who are we to speculate, right?
Right.
Yeah. But it does take a toll on your body if you're having to fight it so much.
Sure.
To get to, stage lean and stuff. That is, it's a big toll on your body, so you always have to put your health first. If it's too much of a struggle, and if you're fighting your body too much, you should always listen to your body,
Yeah.
But those two are amazing. Heather Dees has always been one of my favorites. She's on the points right now, but she's one of the most impressive physiques, because she has the muscle, she has the conditioning, and it still has a beautiful sheen to it and flow. Like, it's not, a lot of girls, they have the muscle and they have the conditioning, but it kind of gets a little grainy looking. But her muscle bellies are so pretty, and I'm expecting her to be on the stage, but I didn't see her in the Savannah lineup, so maybe she'll be added at the last minute. But I think she needs to who knows? I think there's like 3 girls tied with like 12 points and 1 girl with 15. So they're taking the top 3 on points. She's tied right now. And so who knows? I'm expecting her to be on the Olympia stage, but she's one of my favorites.
Right. Well, you would think with her being tied, she would take the opportunity to jump in a show, just to kind of edge out.
Yeah. There's one girl who she was in the first call out last year, and her name is Anna De Jong, I think. Okay. And I think she's from Japan, but I didn't see her on the Savannah.
Yes. Yeah. I know her from Instagram. I never actually saw her compete, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Last year, when I saw her step on the stage and they pulled her out in the first call out, I thought, whoa, like this girl is incredible. Her structure is out of this. It is just next level,
Yeah, there's some amazing Japanese bodybuilders in different divisions that are kind of coming up. It's tough for being out of the US, like to be, to be able to compete, because a lot of times a lot of shows are in the US. But there's some amazing ones coming up for sure.
Maybe that's one of the things that motivates her to be so good. She knows she has to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one shot to win. She's like, I better make it count.
Hey, I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do if you know you don't have any other options, so.
Exactly. Another one is Lola Montez. Her body is like, it is like not even real. It's crazy. I mean, it's like what everyone tries to Photoshop to look like, she actually looks like.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Everyone, I
It's
mean,
a stacked
honestly,
lineup. Yeah.
if you look at the list, it's like every single one of those girls you could literally see winning the Olympia. It's
Sure.
like, it's insane. It's just so competitive.
Yeah, it's one of those divisions that's been around for so long that everyone in it is so developed
Yep.
that like that they're all just kind of hairline, away from winning or losing. So
Exactly.
but it's exciting. It's exciting division. Well, Wendy, I just want to again thank you for taking the time out of your day to do that. We're going to go ahead and link everything with regards to your businesses and down below. And also, we look forward to seeing you on the Olympia stage. I greatly appreciate you coming
Thank
on.
you.